6,000 years ago, someone in Denmark crushed garlic mustard into a paste and used it to season their meal. That same plant is currently spreading through forests across the eastern United States, and almost nobody knows you can still eat it. Welcome to another episode of Stellar Eureka. Today, we are uncovering 10 of the most common weeds hiding in plain sight across American yards, roadsides, and fields. Plants that generations of people ate, used as medicine, and even traded as valuable crops. From the backyard dandelion to the forest carpeting garlic mustard, these so-called nuisances have been feeding humans for thousands of years. Before you reach for the herbicide, stick around, because what you learn today might just change the way you see your whole yard. 1. Dandelion, Taraxacum officinale. You spend money every spring trying to kill this one, but 400 years ago, people spent money to grow it. European settlers brought the dandelion to North America on purpose in the 1600s as a food and medicine crop. They carried it across an ocean deliberately. Let that settle for a second. A plant that millions of Americans now drench in herbicide every April was once carefully transported across the Atlantic as a food source. Here is why. A single handful of dandelion greens contains more beta-carotene than a carrot, and enough vitamin K to cover several times your daily requirement. Every part of the plant is edible. The young leaves in early spring before they sharpen in flavor, the flowers battered and fried or steeped into wine, and the thick taproot roasted and ground into a caffeine-free coffee substitute that health food stores sell for $12 a bag. And here is what makes it remarkable from a practical standpoint. Spinach is one of the most celebrated garden greens in America. Needs prepared soil, regular watering, and replanting every single season. Dandelion needs nothing. It breaks through compacted ground, survives frost, produces from April through October, and comes back every year from a taproot that goes 18 inches deep. You cannot kill it without chemicals, which is exactly the point. 2. Watercress, Nasturtium officinale. Most people walk right past it along stream banks and dismiss it as rivergrass. The CDC ranked it number 1 in nutrient density among the fruits and vegetables they studied. Watercress forms dense, floating mats of dark green leaves along the edges of cold, clean streams and spring-fed creeks. The small, rounded leaflets trail in the current, anchoring lightly to gravel or mud. Crush a leaf between your fingers and the scent hits immediately, sharp, fresh, unmistakably peppery. People have been eating this plant since antiquity. Ancient Romans fed it to soldiers on long campaigns. In 1800s England, street vendors bundled wild watercress and sold it as a breakfast food for working families who could not afford much else. It was one of the first commercially cultivated salad crops in the United States. It has never stopped being food. We just stopped noticing it. The science backs the history. In a CDC study ranking 47 fruits and vegetables by nutrient density across 17 key vitamins and minerals, watercress scored a perfect 100, placing it ahead of spinach, kale, and every other green on the list. It is rich in vitamins K, C, and A, and contains compounds called isothiocyanates that researchers have studied for their potential to disrupt cancer cell growth. 3. Lamb's quarters, Chenopodium album. Something that scores a perfect 100 for nutrients is hard to follow. Lamb's quarters does not even try. It just quietly outperforms spinach on protein and asks for nothing in return. You have seen this one 100 times and pulled it without a second thought. Native American tribes across this continent cultivated it on purpose. Lamb's quarters stands upright with pale green leaves and a distinctive dusty, powdery coating on the underside that gives it a silver-green shimmer and bright light. It looks like it should not be edible. It looks, if we're being honest, like a weed in the most boring sense of the word. It is one of the most important food plants in pre-agricultural North America. Seeds recovered from a Danish bog burial dating to roughly 300 BC were found in the stomach contents of a preserved body. evidence that people were eating this plant more than 2,000 years ago. Native groups across the Great Plains and Southwest harvested both the leaves and the seeds, drying the seeds and grinding them into flour for cakes and porridge. Lamb's quarters and quinoa belong to the same plant family. Those small dark seeds it drops in late summer can be cooked and eaten the same way. The leaves contain more protein per serving than spinach, along with significant calcium, iron, and vitamins A and C. The flavor is mild and earthy, closer to Swiss chard than anything sharp or bitter. Cook it exactly like spinach. It wilts the same way. It tastes better than most people expect. And here is the detail that matters. It grows most aggressively in disturbed soil, the kind that surrounds raised beds and garden borders. If you've been building a vegetable garden, lamb's quarters is almost certainly already colonizing the edges. Most people growing spinach 20 feet away are buying seeds, preparing beds, and managing pests. The lamb's quarters 3 feet from that bed is doing it for free. 4. Stinging nettle. Urtica dioica. Touch it, it burns. Cook it, and it tastes like the best spinach you've ever had. Stinging nettle grows in dense patches 4 to 6 feet tall by midsummer. The leaves are oval and deeply serrated, covered in fine hairs that look almost velvety. Those hairs are hollow needles that inject a mix of histamine and formic acid on contact. Brush a bare arm against a fresh patch and you'll feel it for hours. Most people give it a wide berth and keep moving. That reaction kept people away from one of the most nutritious plants in the Northern Hemisphere for a long time. During World War I, Germany faced a critical cotton shortage after Britain's naval blockade cut off supply lines, and nettle fiber was used to manufacture military uniforms. The plant was already so integrated into European life that it was the obvious substitute. In medieval kitchens, it was eaten every spring as a tonic after months of preserved winter food. Bronze Age cloth woven from nettle fiber has been found at archaeological sites in Denmark. The sting disappears completely with heat or drying. Blanch it for 60 seconds and it is safe, tender, and deeply flavorful. Earthy and mineral-rich in a way that spinach never quite reaches. Nettles are high in iron, calcium, magnesium, and vitamins A and C, and contain more protein than most leafy greens. Young spring shoots, harvested with gloves before the plant flowers, are their best eating. 5. Broadleaf plantain. Plantago major. You have stepped on this plant 1,000 times. Native American tribes called it white man's footprint because it appeared everywhere European settlers went. Broadleaf plantain forms a low rosette of tough, oval leaves with prominent parallel veins running stem to tip. It thrives in compacted soil, cracked pavement, worn-down paths, the kinds of grounds that would kill anything you tried to grow deliberately. From its center, a splendid spike rises and produces seeds that hitchhike on shoes and fur to the next disturbed patch of earth. It is engineered for the habitat humans create. It followed settlers across North America so reliably that its arrival became a marker of colonization. In traditional European herbalism, plant leaf poultices were pressed against wounds, stings, and rashes for centuries. A fresh leaf, chewed and applied to a bee sting, remains one of the fastest field remedies available on a summer hike. The science supports the folklore. The plant contains compounds called acabin and allantoin, both documented for anti-inflammatory and wound-healing properties. The young leaves are edible raw or cooked, mild and slightly earthy, best before the plant toughens up in summer heat. The seeds are related to psyllium, the same fiber ingredient in many commercial digestive supplements sold in American pharmacies. You have probably bought a version of this plant at a drugstore without realizing it was growing in your yard for free. 6. Wood sorrel. Oxalis stricta. Most people mistake it for clover and walk past it. It tastes like lemon. Wood sorrel grows low to the ground in dappled shade and sunny garden edges alike. Its small heart-shaped leaflets clustered in groups of 3. Each leaf folds gently along its center crease at nightfall, a motion called nyctastheny, the plant's quiet way of protecting itself from cold and dew. The flowers are tiny and yellow. The seed pods fling their contents explosively when ripe and disturbed. Some botanists believe wood sorrel was the original plant St. Patrick used in 5th century Ireland to illustrate the Trinity, long before the modern shamrock symbol was standardized. Indigenous peoples across North America chewed the leaves on long travels as a thirst quencher. 16th century herbalist John Gerard praised it in his writings as a cooling summer ingredient. It has been a food for a very long time. The sourness comes from oxalic acid, the same compound in spinach and rhubarb, perfectly safe in normal quantities. And that flavor is genuinely useful, bright, citrusy, almost exactly like a squeeze of lemon in leaf form. Chefs at high-end restaurants pay foragers to bring it in. It appears as a garnish on tasting menus. It is growing in your garden border right now, probably in the shaded corner you gave up on. 7. Purslane, Portulaca oleracea. That lemony bite is pleasant. What comes next is genuinely surprising. A fleshy, drought-tolerant ground cover that contains something most people buy at a pharmacy. You have probably pulled this one out of your garden bed and thrown it into the compost heap. What you threw away contains more omega-3 fatty acids than almost any other leafy plant on Earth. Purslane sprawls low and wide across bare soil, sending out thick reddish stems that branch into a flat mat of fleshy, paddle-shaped leaves. Everything about it is succulent. The stems, the leaves, even the small yellow flowers that open only in morning sunlight. Snap a stem and it is almost juicy. It stores water in its tissues like a tiny desert survivor, which is exactly what it is, built to thrive in the hottest, driest corners of a summer garden where your other plants are struggling. It was eaten in ancient Egypt, Persia, Greece, and Rome. Roman naturalist Pliny the Elder wrote about it as a common food in medicine. For centuries, it was a standard salad green in European kitchens before modern agriculture pushed it off cultivated land and onto the weed list. Mahatma Gandhi reportedly listed it among his preferred foods during periods of fasting. It has never left the table in Mexico, the Middle East, or the Mediterranean. Only here did we decide it was garbage. Scientific analysis confirms what those cultures always knew. Purslane contains the highest levels of alpha-linolenic acid, an essential omega-3 fatty acid, of any leafy green vegetable studied. It also provides 6 times more vitamin E than spinach and 7 times more beta-carotene than carrots. The flavor is mild and slightly tangy, with a satisfying crunch that holds up in salads, grain dishes, or lightly pickled in vinegar. 8. Chickweed, Stellaria media. This one starts growing in late winter, sometimes while frost is still in the forecast. For centuries, that timing made it one of the most valuable plants a family could find. Chickweed forms soft, tangled mats of delicate stems and tiny oval leaves, rarely rising more than a few inches off the ground. One distinguishing feature sets it apart from similar plants. A single line of fine white hairs runs along one side of each stem, switching sides at every leaf node. In late winter and early spring, small white flowers appear, each with 5 petals so deeply notched they look like 10. The scent when crushed is fresh and faintly green. It earned its name from gardeners who noticed chickens seeking it out eagerly, along with songbirds and a long list of other animals with good instincts. In traditional English gardens, it was considered a reliable winter salad plant, available fresh when almost nothing else would grow. European settlers brought it to North America, where it naturalized so successfully that it now grows across most of the continent from late fall through early summer. The flavor is mild and pleasant, somewhere between fresh spinach and tender corn silk, with no bitterness. Eat it raw in salads, blend it into smoothies, or wilt it quickly in butter. It delivers vitamin C, calcium, magnesium, and iron in the exact season when fresh greens are hardest to find anywhere else. Herbalists have used chickweed poultices for centuries to soothe eczema and skin irritation, a practice backed by the plant's documented anti-inflammatory compounds. One plant produces around 800 seeds. Those seeds can stay viable in soil for up to 10 years. Once chickweed finds your garden, it is part of your garden permanently, arriving every late winter without you doing anything at all. 9. Red and white clover, Trifolium pratense, Trifolium repens. You have been mowing this one into nothing. Farmers used to plant it deliberately to bring depleted land back to life. Clover blankets lawns, roadsides, and meadows in a dense low carpet. Red clover produces upright pink-purple flower heads the size of a golf ball. White clover stays lower, with rounder pale blooms that hum with bees on warm afternoons. Both species are nitrogen-fixing legumes. Their root systems host bacteria that pull nitrogen directly from the atmosphere and deposit it into the soil. Before synthetic fertilizers existed, farmers planted clover specifically to restore fields after heavy cropping. It was a deliberate, valuable crop. Then chemical nitrogen made that unnecessary, and we reclassified it as something to eliminate. The edible profile is better than most people realize. The flowers, both red and white, are sweet and mildly nutty, good raw in salads or dried for tea. Red clover is particularly rich in isoflavonone compounds that researchers have studied for potential benefits, including menopausal symptom relief, bone density support, and cardiovascular health. Dried red clover blossoms sell for $8 to $15 an ounce at herbal retailers. They are flowering in your lawn right now for free. The leaves are edible too, mildly grassy and best in small quantities raw, or blanched briefly to improve digestibility. The seeds can be sprouted indoors in winter for fresh greens when nothing else is growing outside, ready in 4 days. And the whole time, the root system is quietly rebuilding the soil beneath it, season after season, without any input from you. You did not have a weed problem. You had a cover crop. Clover works quietly underground. Our final plant works loudly above it, spreading through American forests with an aggression that has conservationists genuinely worried, and a flavor that has been prized in European kitchens for 6,000 years.